We're talking about study permit today, and it's actually a really unique study permit season. If you're about to apply, you're thinking of studying in Canada, keep watching. So today what I want to focus on is three main things that applicants who are applying for study permits should focus on at any time for study permits in Canada to ensure that you have a good chance of receiving that study permit. You can't miss on these three things that I'll be talking about. At the end of this video today, I'm going to address concerns around COVID-19 and IRCC's updates in regards to you applying for your study permit. So, I'm applying for a study permit. One of the first things that applicants usually want to know is, how much money should I show? Proof of funds. How much money should I show for my study permit? What's the minimum that is required of me by immigration that would be satisfactory for my study permit application? And here is what you need to know. For your study permit application, you need to show minimum funds that would cover your tuition fees plus your living expense. If your tuition fee is $20,000, and estimated living expense average across Canada, and that is for all provinces except Quebec, it's $10,000. If you're going to the province of Quebec, you're looking at a minimum of $11,000 in living expense. So basically, if you're coming for a program that is $20,000 and your living expense is $10,000, your minimum should be $30,000 plus whatever it would cost you to fly to Canada in terms of your transportation to get here. So that's how you would calculate what your cost would be, the minimum that you need to show for your study permit application. In addition to that minimum amount, so once you calculate that and you determine what that is for 1 year. So if you're coming for a 1-year program, you're done. Whatever that amount is in your local currency, that's the minimum that you would need for your application. Now, if you're coming for a program that is more than 1 year, once you show the minimum for the first year, the officer is going to be assessing your application to see how did you raise the funds for the first year, and will you be able to generate that amount of income to generate those funds again in the second year. It's very important to make sure that you have that. It's usually easier if you have a sponsor. If your sponsor only would have for the first year but has a job or has a business that would generate the same amount of funds for the second year, then that's what they would show. But if you're a self-sponsor, sponsoring yourself to Canada, then of course that requirement kind of changes, because now you're not just looking at sponsorship for the 1 year, you're going to be looking at providing enough funds for the 2 years, because once you come to study in Canada, you will no longer have the source of funds that you had before. So you need to save up and have enough before you even start that application. Meeting the minimum criteria is very important, because the officers will assess to ensure that you're not going to have to work in Canada to sustain yourself when you get here. Now, the next thing that you have to think about is your study plan, which is typically your study plan, purpose of visit. This would all be addressed in your study plan. What is a study plan? It's very important to prove to the officer that you're a genuine student coming to Canada and what your plan would be after you study in Canada. Your study plan would address concerns such as change of program. If you change your program, why did you choose Canada? It would address things like why you chose Canada, why did you choose the program of studies, and what is this program great for you, and how would this increase your employability, of course, when you go back to your home country. And the reason why I'm talking about home country is because you have to remember that a study permit is a temporary residence visa, and at any point in time when you apply for a study permit, the officer is going to be assessing your application to determine if you do have enough ties to go back home to your home country. Not just ties, but they'll also be looking at what the benefits would be that you are coming to study and how you could use that planned study in your home country as well. So your study plan goes to address that purpose of visit. Many times applicants come, oh, my application was refused because of purpose of visit. It's probably because the officer is not convinced that the main reason why you're coming to Canada is to study. So you need to make that clear. Clearly articulate that in your study plan to convince the officer that you're here for the purpose of studying in Canada. Now, the third and very important piece of your study permit application is proof of ties. Proof of ties is one of those things where if you look at the study permit list of documents or list of things you need to provide, you may not really find proof of ties listed as a document you need to provide, because it's really not. But it's one of those things that you need to include in your application to convince the officer that you're leaving behind lots of valuable things, lots of valuable family, to warrant you going back home at the end of the study. What are proof of ties? Basically, like I said prior, a study permit is a temporary residence visa, and at any time the officer is going to be assessing your application to determine if at the end of your studies you don't have legal stay to continue to remain in Canada, or you can't switch your status to permanent, that you're not someone who would live in Canada illegally. Basically, they will be looking at things like your ties in terms of family, employment opportunities, businesses. They would be looking at financial assets. They would be looking at landed assets. Things that you have that you look at yourself and you're like, I wouldn't just run away and leave these things. I wouldn't just run away and stay in Canada illegally if things didn't work out for me. I have enough. I have good things going on for me in my home country that I would be willing to go back home. So those are some of the things. And with proof of ties, it really differs per applicant. Some have all of it, some have a few of that, and you just have to work with that and present that in a strong case to the officer to convince them that you do have enough ties in your home country and you would go back to your home country at the end of your studies. Just to recap again, 3 critical things you have to think about this year as you're applying for your study permit. Ensure that you have more than enough funds that is required. I said more than enough because the more money, the better. Ensure that you have a clear purpose of visit articulated in your study plan. Ensure that your application clearly highlights all of the ties that you have to your home country and all of the great things that you'll be leaving behind to come and study in Canada. Now that we've talked about the study permit, the key things you need to do, the next thing that I'm going to be talking about, of course, is applying for study permits under this pandemic. Should you apply? What should you do? What's going on if you can't provide the documents that are required? The first thing that I would say is there are 3 things that will potentially make it difficult for applicants to provide all that is required for their study permit right now. Most applicants are still able to provide documents to get their application done, but when you submit your application, you might not be able to get your biometrics completed because the visa application centers are closed. You also may not be able to complete your medical exams if you don't have an upfront medicals done in the last 1 year. You may not be able to do that. Also, if your application is approved, you may not be able to submit your passport. Those are the things that are hindering applications now, but IRCC has stated that they will not cancel any application because of incomplete documentation or you not being able to provide certain things that they want. So as long as you provide an explanation accompanying your application as to why you can't provide these things, that will be fine. Remember, biometrics is no longer 30 days, it's now 90 days. So you have 90 days to complete the biometrics. And we're hoping that as different countries and cities open up, that you would be able to get your medicals done, get your biometrics done, and also be able to submit your passport. Don't stop yourself from applying for study permits if you already have admission for fall 2020. Also note that applicants who get approved for study permit can start studying online in the fall. You'll be able to study up to 50% of your program online, and that would not impact your eligibility for postgraduate work permit if you were going to a school, of course, that is approved for that as well. Don't worry. Do all you can to get a strong application in, and I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you and welcome you to Canada sometime soon. Keep me posted. Let me know if you get a study permit this year. It will be really nice to celebrate with you all. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. If you have not, please subscribe. I would like to have you here. See you. Bye-bye.